Okay, good morning, Europe. I hope you're well. It's Friday. It's the last trading day of the month. And, well, it's also last day of the month. Uh, and I have been absent for a little bit. I still have an eye infection, but through some miracle that I'm not quite sure what, I've gone from I'm in agony when I went to bed last night to I woke up this morning going, well, that's a little strange. I feel almost normal. I don't quite look normal. I still look like someone has somewhat punched me, or I've been on an all-night bender for the last week. You know, a little bit like that guitarist from Rolling Stone, Keith Richards, on the left eye. But otherwise, I feel pretty good. And I thought, why sit and mope about? So I cancelled my hospital appointment. For fuck it, I want to trade. So here I am. And please don't lecture me whether that's a good idea or not. I'm a grown man, and let's get to it. The markets will open in approximately 1 minute and 45 seconds. And it's great to be here. It feels like I haven't been here for ages, although technically it's just one day I was gone, I think. No, it was 2, wasn't it? So we got a lot of volatility. I'd also like to, I want to take you through a couple of things. I haven't done my normal preparation. It's going to have to wait until the weekend review. And then on Monday, we will get back to a more educational slant to it. But as I said, I didn't actually expect to be worth diddly squat this morning. But here I am. And I'm happy to be here. So here we go. And we're open. And FTSE is away. Right, so while we're waiting for signals, I want to show you, I want to bring your attention to yesterday, because I got my fingers burnt on the old FTSE. Here's the FTSE. It's a first bar positive, and I didn't sell it there. The low was 8702, and that triggers a short at 8701. But it happened so fast that I actually got to fill a better at 8705. But as you can see, I think the most I was ever on profit was by 2 points, and then I got stopped out. And I didn't flip the switch. I didn't take it again. I thought I'd better leave this alone. And if you look at the other day that I missed, as another first bar positive, I didn't take this one. I didn't trade on this day, in fairness. But if I had, I would most certainly have lost. It triggered a short here. You had 6 points of joy. And then big reversal. The DAX yesterday, oh man, I traded that very well. Let me show you. And I think this should be like a case study. So I think what I'd like to do is I'll just bring up paint. Kind of had a feeling that the FTSE was going to do this. So why didn't you trade it? Yeah, why didn't I? Oh, to my Muslim friends, I think Ramadan starts today, doesn't it? Ramadan. Oh, it's tonight. You better load up on those carbohydrates, boys and girls. You have a long month ahead of you. Ramadan starts at Friday evening today, and it lasts a full month. Now, it's not for me to question anyone's faith and practices, but if there are any Muslims here, could I ask a rather objective question? And please don't be offended, because no offense is meant. But is it really a good idea? Not from a religious point of view. I get it. You practice abstinence. I get that. It's a bit like when you meditate. It's actually a practice of the mind, and I get it. However, it's the food thing I want to question. Is it a good idea to not eat all day, and then as night breaks, you stuff yourself because you're pretty hungry and pretty thirsty, and then you go to bed? It's generally not been good for the body to stuff yourself and then conk out. And it might be that my medicinal understanding of the body is skewed here. I just know that I generally have a pretty poor sleep quality if I go to bed with an enormous full belly. Now, I understand that there's the cultural legacy to it, and the social aspect, and the sharing of religious belief. Get all of that. I'm all for it. I'm just wondering if it's so good for the body. But hey, as I said, I say that from the vantage point of the utmost respect, as I do with any religion. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, observed by Muslims all the way as a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. See, I like that. I like the community bit. It's what brought us all together into tribes, looking out for each other. Anyway, enough of that. There's a squash player I like quite a lot. He is a Muslim, Ali Farag. Some of you who are into squash will probably know who he is. Well, you should, because he's world #1. But he's a practicing Muslim, and I remember seeing him at a competition. He was playing Paul Cole, the New Zealander, who is also top brass. But here's the thing: Paul Cole was obviously not Muslim. Ali Farag is, and Ali Farag actually plays through the entire game, even though he hadn't drunk anything or eaten anything all day. And it's like it's a spectacle to see that match, because he's cramping up, he can barely stand, and yet somehow he still manages to take Paul Cole to 5 sets. It's just incredible. Anyway, I wanted to show you the DAX because I think that's a really big lesson. And of course, your contribution is always welcome. My God, we got a lot of work ahead of us this year. I tell you that. There's some serious research coming this way. Okay, so here's the DAX yesterday. And what you're seeing here is a 15-minute chart. And I'm going to use my Van Gogh or Salvador Dali. Have you ever seen a painting from Salvador Dali? My God, it's like, was that man high all the time? It's incredible. And yet I am strangely attracted to Salvador Dali's paintings. There's just something about it that, sits so well with me. Fucking melting clocks and whoo. So to the best of my ability, I define this as the overnight range in the DAX yesterday. Agree or disagree? Ballpark. So anyway, the market opens, and I'm going to draw the market open here. This bar here is the DAX opening in Frankfurt, 9 o'clock in the morning. I got my computer set to 8 o'clock, and it doesn't matter whether I'm in Middle East or China or wherever. So I've been Bangkok, Spain, Denmark. I always set my clock for 8 o'clock because, believe it or not, old habits are really hard to get rid of. And when you worked on a trading floor for 10 years, 9, and you always know, well, the Dow opens at 2:30 in the afternoon. How can it open anywhere else but how can it open at any other time that at 2:30 in the afternoon? That's just the way it is. Hang on, I got a problem with Telegram. There we go. Got it. So that so the way that I am interpreting this is that the DAX opens outside of the range. There's no doubt about that. We are outside of the overnight range, and we are below the overnight range. And in particular, I'm hoping my friend Alex is tuning in now, because he was asking me this question yesterday. So Alex, if you're listening in, and if you're not, I have to question why you can call yourself a trader or not. I'm joking. So we are opening below the overnight range. And the overnight range is not something we can look up. It's just something that we decide this is the overnight range. And I take that from midnight Greenwich time to 6 a.m. Maybe it has to be 7 a.m., but this seems to work really well. DAX opens, but now it gets interesting because the second bar, I'm going to color that slightly different. We'll call that, what's this color here? Let me just do red, because then I don't have to embarrass people that I actually don't know what that color is. Purple, thank you, paint. the second 15-minute bar takes place underneath the overnight range. And during yesterday, DAX came up here, and I had, I think it was 84. Let me just double check, okay? Sorry, 86, all right? And I had an order here at 86 and a half, I think it was. And it didn't trigger. And the market just immediately sold off. And so at 71, I thought, okay, this looks like it really wants to go down. And I sold short because, and ideally, I would have sold short here. Why would I have sold short on what's supposed to be a long entry in a school run? Well, because it's taken place below the overnight range. Anyway, it turned out to be a really good trade. And of course, I closed right here at the lows. Joking, didn't. But I did have a good trade. Now, let me get rid of some of these lines so they don't disturb you, because I think the next aspect is perhaps even more important. You see, what I have noticed, and I highlighted this in the Hang Seng or the ASX just before I stopped streaming, what I noticed was that if we come back up to this level here, then the odds are high that we will continue. Now, what actually happened yesterday was that the DAX just took we're just going to go down 70 points and then we'll rally. I'm ashamed to say I really wanted to be a buyer here around 22,600, and the market went 22,602, 3, and I thought, okay, come back to 22,600, and it didn't, and it just rallied. And when it was up here, I thought, oh, I'm just gonna walk away. But let's not focus on my own shortcomings. Let's rather focus on, right, how can we deal with the DAX if it comes back up and retests when we're trading below the overnight range and we come back up to it? That seems to be an indicative, sure sign that we will be headed higher. Now, I left the screen. I don't know how brunch break performed. Seemingly not very well. Definitely not very well. This is the brunch break bar. So yes, so that's the story of the school run yesterday. So let's focus on what have we got this morning. So we can draw this. I know some of you are very keen to get me to use TradingView. I get it. It's probably easier to draw, but you're gonna just have to stick with me doing it in Paint for the time being. So here's the overnight range in the DAX. Hell of an overnight range, if you don't mind me saying so. So I'm gonna roughly define this as the overnight range. It's a very powerful color, orange. So by my estimation, we are in a very large range, but still within the overnight range. So now, say that, let's see if I can do a little bit of magic here. This might not come off so well, but I'll try. So say that the next bar looked like this. Let's get rid of that. Saying that the next bar looked like this. So this was the completed school run bar. Then traditionally you would have a long above and a short below. Now, I admit more research needs to be done, but by my reckoning, what we need to do if the school run bar happens inside the range, we should be sellers up here and we should be buyers down here, which is essentially the ante. But I want to go through more data. But let's see how this pans out. We have another 10 minutes to go. FTSE is just off and away. Would you excuse me for 1 minute, please? Okay, I'm back. Big ranges in the DAX, huh? Account status, I am on 16,196. So if we assume that's where I end up to finish this month, which has been, let's face it, I haven't actually traded that much. in how many times have I traded in February? Let's have a look. Video number 30, I think. Video number 31 was my first trade in February. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's only been 13 sessions. And there's 2 sessions a day. So basically only traded 7 days in February. So that makes it a so the first month was I made 40%, but this month I've only made 12%. Well, look, it's better than losing, right? It's better than a kick in the butt. It's better than an eye infection. I wonder how my month would have been if I had traded all through. We shall never know. I also really seriously need to consider my stake size now. The problem that I have with increasing the stake size is that the volatility has significantly increased. If I show you something here, 1 second. So here's my research platform. I use eSignal. So here's the DAX on a daily chart. If I use a basic average true range, you should be able to see. And of course, the average true range will increase because the DAX in itself is increasing. But if we take the average true daily range on a 14-day average, you will be able to see that in 2025, the average true range was 175. You can see that up there in the blue. So I'm driving the cursor. So now, you're basically at an all-time high in terms of average true range. It is currently 260. So we've gone from 175 to 260. So by my estimation, that's approximately a 50% increase in the ranges. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's significant because if we're basing our stop loss not on an arbitrary amount such as a 40-point stop loss, but we're basing it a stop loss on placing it below prior bar low or above prior bar high. Well, if the volatility is increasing, then it stands to reason that so too will our stop loss. Not necessarily the volatility, but volatility as reflected in the length of the bars of the average bar. And that that's an issue. Because if you have to have a larger stop loss, you can't use the normal stake size, because your risk will, your monetary risk will be bigger. So it's about finding that sweet spot. And so for now, I'm perfectly okay with having a stop loss of around 60 to 80 points and trade £4 a point. So notice on the FTSE how buyers are stepping in below prior bar low. Do you see that? I probably would have been a buyer here around 12 or 13. But this is just more like a micro double bottom. A micro double bottom is an expression that I have borrowed from Al Brooks. He talks about micro double bottoms. I think what he's saying is a micro isn't a grand double bottom. It's just compared to the previous bar. He calls that a micro double bottom. At least that's what I assume that he means by a micro. Okay, so we're just breaking out above the first. But do you see how we're still within the overnight range? So this is going to be really interesting, and it's going to be marginal. It's going to be really marginal. Are we going to see an explosion up, or are we going to just respect the range? So here's the trend on the 30-minute chart. Let me just get rid of these bars here because I'm not going to trade the aggressive school run. So it's decision time, isn't it? If this was where we completed, and it probably will be, do I sell the DAX above 418, knowing that there's a high at 446, or do I buy it above 418? Traditional school run theory says I have to be a buyer above. Anti-school run theory says I need to sell short above, because we are still within the overnight range. Crikey, it's really marginal, isn't it? If I buy, do I really have a stop loss of 80 points? Nope, I'm not. So here we go. Shorting the DAX here. So marginal. Can you see what I mean by that? So marginal. We are still within the overnight range, and I've taken a chance here. I think the objective here is going to be to have to move that stop loss as quickly as possible. I'm gonna put the stop loss at 445 immediately. Okay, so far so good. So the high is 425. I'm short from 421. I could just put the stop loss at 430. Then I'm risking 9 points. I think the analysis was difficult today, but I had to sort of abide by the hypothesis I developed about the overnight range. But it's so marginal. Could you see what I mean? Because we are literally knocking on the door of the overnight range. My stop loss is at 31. Those who decided to take the long side, which is basically a breakout, they're winning right now. And I admit that my stop loss is tight. Of course it's tight. Got a lot of fresh air up here if it breaks above 46. So I identify this as an extreme. We are at the extremes, and I'm hoping I'm going to pull it off. If we see the profit going to plus 10 again, I think I'll click this button here on my software for stop to break even. Just a quick glance at the FTSE. The buy opportunity was buy below prior bar low. That would have been a buyer at 15. Would have had 15 points by now. So whatever happens here, profit or loss, just know that at times as a trader you have to make a call. And you can't afterwards say, oh, that was a bad decision. You acted on the information you had at the time. You swung the bat. Now you just sit back and let the market do its thing. And if we begin to retrace, you manage the position to the best of your ability. Maybe you even add to the position. But you can't sit here and go, oh, you should have done, because we don't know what's going to happen, and we are basing our trading decision on the merit of our research. If it doesn't work out, maybe there's going to be a degree of introspection, going, okay, should we have, what does the evidence suggest? So there's a guy called Swan. He's saying, why don't you wait until you hit the Asian high to short? Wouldn't this be safer? It's a good question, but Sean is talking about it as if I know that the overnight session is going to be hit. How do I know that? I'm basing this on the 15-minute chart, and we just traded above the high of the second 15-minute bar, which is at 418, and I shorted it at 421. Good price, good entry. The high is 428 so far. Stop loss is 431, so we're also very lucky here. Now we are 20 points in profit. So what do? Well, one could contemplate taking profit. Bit early, isn't it? One could contemplate moving the stop loss down. Okay. Definitely a possibility. I'm doing that. Stop loss is now to break even. Now it just becomes a question of, where do I take profit, and or where do I add to my position? Much of that answer probably lies in how this bar closes. And considering I'm only 7 points in profit, I may not even have that luxury. Maybe the market's going to stop me out and then go lower. But just remember, the whole hypothesis of the Antichrist here, the anti-school run, is that if we're trading within the overnight range, and we define the overnight range ourselves, it's not something we can look up, we are going to do the opposite of what traditional school run theory suggests. But you know what? If you're trading 200 pounds a point and you got 14 points in profit, you could also just walk away with 3,000 pounds now and say, yeah, I'm done. Do that every day and you got close to £1 million a year in profit. That is obviously not my case yet on this size account. And I am also fully mindful of that. The momentum is to the upside. I mean, just look at it. It's a bloody bull market, isn't it? So any short positions is always going to be at the mercy of the bulls. But I got the upper hand this time because I am with a stop loss at break even. So there we go. That sums it up. So we're just doing a 38% retracement now. So I'm going to take profit. I'm getting about 34 points here. 32. Voila. Why am I taking profit? Well, because I'm just easing my way into it again. So there we go. Closed at 91, made 120 pounds. Account is 16,300. So this is going to be a somewhat shorter session because I actually have a shitload of other things I need to do, and I'm very happy with the analysis this morning. Now, if I could just be serious with you for a second, what my hypothesis then says is that if we go above this point here again, we should actually see 22,550. So that was a well played 30 odd points. Can do whatever it wants to do from my point of view now. I will leave you alone for this short session. I will be back for the US session, but it's just so nice to be back trading. Very nice. I hope that you enjoyed this exquisite display of, oh shoot, what are we gonna do? We are right at the high end. That's what being a trader is all about. Making informed decisions and hoping for the best. That is me done. Plus 33 or 30, just call it a 30. I will see you at the US session. All the best. Tom. Thank you so much. Sorry for the somewhat shortened session, but I got a profit. I got to illustrate a very, very important point about school run and overnight range, and I executed it flawlessly. I think I managed it well. Did I get out too early? Well, if I did, so let that be it, but I'm fine with that. That's it. I will see you later. Thank you so much. All the very best. Bye-bye.